Welcome back. This is gonna be our third episode.
Third,
Third
yes,
episode.
yes. Welcome
Okay.
back. I hope everyone's doing good. Hope everyone's doing dandy. The end of the year is coming up.
Yeah. Our our last 2 months have been full of crazy things.
Oh, so much stuff happened. I don't know
Yeah.
what to say.
You had finals. I know that a lot of
Everyone went through
yeah, everyone had
finals.
finals.
Everyone's getting sick.
Oh my god. Yeah, a whole slew of you guys at church got sick
Yeah,
last week.
so much.
Well, last weekend, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Just everyone for the past like 2 weeks just got sick, and it's like everyone take your emergency. Everyone get your flu shot.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone mask up. I'm sorry. Like, better safe than sorry.
It's the stress nausea, it's the stomach flu, and
Just the flu,
yeah, everything's
sore
just going
throat,
on. Yep.
coughing.
Like, I'm fortunate I didn't get fully sick like that, but when I started my first week on the new job, it was I was losing my voice.
Yeah, you
So
are.
meetings, if I had meetings that week, it was a really tough thing to go through.
Dude.
Oh yeah, I got a new job.
And I got a new job.
Yo, yeah,
I
did.
got a job, actually.
Yes,
Sorry.
you got an on-campus job, which is good.
I'm employed now. Guys, I don't understand what this means. I'm employed.
Very fortunate because like all your stuff is on campus.
Yeah.
And you only have one place to go to. You don't have to go off campus to make money. So that's good.
Yeah. This is interesting. Speaking of our college series, we're gonna continue it actually. And speaking of getting a new job, that means more dynamic shifts. And so that means I have to go and now balance my life as a working student on campus and a student, period, and a person that socializes with other people in a socially dead school. So
that sounds that sounds not fun.
It's something, that's for sure. But our icebreaker for today actually is
well, let's start off before we get to the icebreaker. So we are, again, as Ren said, we are continuing the college series. Today we're going to be touching more on relationship dynamics, and I guess the shifts, the ins and outs of what that entails from high school to college and even beyond.
Yeah. Post high school experiences, which is very fun, very interesting.
As you touch into your adulthood, your young professional life. This is a conversation that I haven't really had this, aside from my high school best friend the last couple of years. This is a conversation I haven't really had with anyone, so I guess this is interesting to kind of get your take on it.
Yeah.
As you're going through it, as you yourself are going through it, and of course, like, I want to, I guess, cross-reference and not really compare, but put my own experiences into play. So yeah, what do we have for the icebreaker?
What's a dream that you and your friends imagined in the past, and did you reach it, or do you still think about reaching it?
Okay. Let's cut this question.
Yeah, you can.
Into
You can really just. Mine is pretty freaking short. I'll tell you that.
All right. Well, let's have you go first, I guess.
Okay.
I'll ask you in this case. So, what's a dream that you and your friends in high school or in the past imagined that you guys would achieve, and did you ever achieve it, or do you still think about achieving it?
Okay. There's so many like things that like you and your friends talk about in the past that you're like, oh, we're gonna do this and we're gonna be like this, and obviously, like, so for real, I never believed that I would end up doing any of that stuff specifically with those friends. Like, I always knew that like change happens and then stuff like goes out of your hands, and then it just you don't you just stop being friends. Like, that's just the reality of it. So I mean, it's the usual stuff that you and your friends talk about. It's like, oh, we should totally like move in together, and we should totally like do this in university, and we won't even have to dorm. We'll just live the next 4 years together and all that stuff. I wasn't even thinking about college. If you hear a dog whimpering,
That's my dog. He's trying to
yeah,
get
that's
attention.
that's Kuriko's dog. Well, anyways, but obviously I didn't reach it. And especially I didn't reach it, or I'm not planning to reach it with those friends from the past either. I'm not saying, like, I'm not shit talking. They're like, oh, they'd be terrible roommates, but that's just the reality of it. And I feel like a lot of people don't want to admit that post high school graduation and all that stuff. But there's certain things that you can hope for, and there's certain things that when you experience your first year of any form of tertiary education, like, that's the reality of it. And you kind of just have to come to terms with it. But yeah, like moving in, my first thought is moving in with all my like my friends from school. And honestly, I'm too broke for that. Let's be for
Mm-hmm.
real.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand how down payments work and renting and leasing and credit scores and all that stuff worked
Yeah.
when I was a kid. But definitely that would be a dream to do, because having my own space would be so fire. Everyone believes that. But in this economy,
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
no.
Well, I guess you have to adapt, right?
Yeah.
I guess it's fair.
I think that's everyone's
Uh,
struggle, especially I feel like, I don't know. For me, actually, with the people that I'm friends with and the people I talk to, it's definitely a struggle. Like, UC housing crisis.
shit.
Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, I don't know. Did you have any dreams that you were like, oh, it's kind of funny to think about now?
It's actually interesting. I think. Well, so for me, I had, I was in and out of multiple circles in school. Like, for the most part, I was one of those people in high school that could jump
Jump around.
circles, right, and like throughout the day and kind of just catch
Group
up with everyone.
jumpers. I love those
Yeah, no,
people.
yeah, for real. Like, what
Their vibe.
I can, you know, normally I'd be with my high school best friend and we just talk about like a lot of philosophical things, right?
Yeah.
Things that you wouldn't expect high school students to really be talking about, and I
Mm-hmm.
actually like that for, for the most part of my high school life. But I wouldn't, have an issue talking with the more popular kids, the ones who are ASB, right? They're
Oh
the ones,
yeah, you know those ASB
they're
kids.
the ones in like the varsity basketball team,
Oh wow,
whatever. They're the ones that are,
I didn't care about that stuff.
yeah, essentially the
Sorry.
ones who are essentially running the school, right? But
Mm.
then there's also the outlier, essentially, like you said, the group jumper. Um, I guess if there was one dream that like me and my me and some of these friends were talking about, actually with my high school best friend, we were actually talking about like maybe putting together like like an iteration of a game from this one uh yeah, from this one.
You said this before.
Yeah, I have
Yeah,
said
yeah,
this
yeah,
before.
yeah.
It would be a part of the series of, like these series of games that um we be playing. It was a JRPG that's like, that seems very Final Fantasy, but not really. It's like, it's the Tale series, and you're we
This is
actually
so old school of
it's so old
you.
school because and I thought it would be such a legit thing to happen because, you know, uh, he and I wrote. Well, it's more that he wrote the musical for our senior year high school musical program. Uh, yeah,
Oh,
he wrote that script, and I was the one who essentially spearheaded all the production and all of
yeah,
the operation and all of that. Right, I was the one who was kind of delegating people. I was the one who was doing the choreography. So in a way, I was thinking it would be a legit thing that we could get this, like post high school project.
yeah.
Um, and it was crazy because he had, he already had essentially the script done for the game, or like a great
That is impressive.
No, yeah, yeah, like when I tell you my best friend in high school was like a writer, like the thing is
Would have done numbers on AO3.
and, yeah,
Would have
no,
done numbers on Wattpad or something. Like,
I don't know, but like
that's actually crazy. Yeah.
uh not to go on a tangent here, but I'll give a little background about him. He's actually gonna be finishing his bachelor's right in, like within this, or I think by the end of this year, spring quarter or spring semester,
Yeah.
with his bachelor's in, I think, in writing.
That's
And
actually really nice.
yep, and he's debating whether or not he should either go to graduate school for it, or he'll take a bunch of certifications in place so he doesn't have to quote unquote go back to school. But just to get that background, he's had something lined up already to
Dude, he
kind of,
really stuck with his passion, and that's actually very like that's impressive.
yeah,
That really is like that's
yeah.
so cool.
It's
Like I
funny
feel like he
too.
always
Yeah,
knew what he wanted, and then he kind of just stuck with it. You know, he was like, "Fuck it, like
yeah,
it's fine.
yeah.
I'm passionate about it. I'll succeed."
Yeah. I and the nice thing about that is we can already use the world building he did. And basically, essentially, the world that him and his brother, wrote up and created. Right?
Yeah,
They already did the world building. You just have to create your characters within it.
yeah.
It's funny how we were talking about that in high school, seeing if we could do that. He already was thinking of music already and stuff, right? Like that, right?
Damn.
Yeah. But if that of course didn't come to fruition, and I'm not sure where we are at in life if we could get to that, right? If that'll ever be a conversation, the
In the
next
future.
couple years or so, we'll have to see. But it's just nice to know that that vision was repurposed to where if we ever, well, we started
Yeah.
one. If we, when we started a D&D campaign, we just simply used his
Nah.
world
Exactly.
building
Yeah.
to start a campaign.
That's cool.
We didn't have to use no pre-generated campaigns or like,
Nothing that had to be done again. Basically,
right,
it was just
exactly.
at the ready.
It was already organic. It was already there. We just have to
It's
create
already
our characters.
original-ish too. Like you guys made it from your own
Yeah.
like creativity and imagination.
I'd like
So
to say he was the first and foremost contributor to that world building and
yeah,
to that creation of that space. I just contributed in my own little ways.
yeah.
But I guess, um did I ever achieve it? Did we ever achieve it? No, I don't think we did. But
Would you if you had the chance?
if I had the chance, and if I can rope him in from his situations
Screw
in
your
life now.
master's degree. Let's make a game right now.
Of course, if we have that money, I'll probably
Hell
have
yeah.
him to,
Who wouldn't?
I'll
You
probably
know,
get him on board. I'll just say, hey, I'm investing. This is your world.
this
Let's
is your
continue that
creation.
dream that what we had, right?
Like, get up. We're locking in now.
Of course, of course. I may not have seen that happen within the last 8 years, 9 years that we've been talking about that, but who knows? Maybe we'll revisit in the next 9 years
Damn.
later.
Hey, but you're still friends with this guy, right?
Oh yeah, no, I'm still friends with him. I
Damn.
just actually recently reconnected with him after like months of not talking, simply because like life happens.
Yeah. People get
He,
busy. It's a real thing.
his life got busy. He had his own dealings to worry about and his own concerns. You know what was happening with me in my
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
The job that was putting me
Stuff
through
just.
such distress.
Yeah.
But hopefully this new season is a start to something completely different. I'm exploring my other interests, right?
Yeah.
All I wanted was really a stable like schedule, and right now I seem to have got that. So now it's just up to me to when I'm gonna start inserting more
Figuring your shit out.
more things, like going back to dance classes, the studios, going back to the gym,
Just going back
even.
to my social life.
Exactly.
Both personally and just everyone else.
Yeah. And then even just going on exploring new hobbies even, right? Like, I just bought a fucking
DJ.
DJ board, like,
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago, and I've been messing around with that,
Yeah.
but I haven't fully thrown myself into where I'm doing it every night and trying to
Yeah.
set aside a time. But it's a work in progress, and hopefully by I'm assuming, or I'm hoping, by the end of the next 8 months, I'll have something very substantial to kind of just say,
Hell
hey,
yeah.
I know how to
You can
spin a
confidently say
track.
yeah.
Who knows? I might throw a party, and I'll
Yeah.
just say, hey, I'm spinning tracks for like 30 minutes or like even an hour, right?
30 minutes is a good amount, I will say.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Lots of things to look forward to this coming year, but
Damn. That's real.
mhm.
um
Anyways, I think that's a good way to break the ice on this.
yes, for sure. I mean, speaking of what you said, that's kind of just what happens when you're just going through a lot of changes in the, like, I don't know, from your from your 18 to 30 years
Right.
ages, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of changes, a lot of shifts in your social life, and
Mm-hmm.
then you lose people and then you reconnect with them,
Right.
which is crazy. I mean, it's cool that you can reconnect with people you haven't talked to in like literal years. For me, I still can't wrap my head around how people just casually do that.
Yeah.
Like,
I guess
okay, I should hit them up. Like,
mhm.
what?
It all just comes like through timing,
Mm-hmm.
because you're never sometimes you're gonna connect with someone that maybe you just haven't talked to in like a couple weeks, a couple
Yeah.
months, right? They're one of the people that are a little bit more available in life, your daily life or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is like an example, church, like, for us, I may see you, like every week,
Yeah. At
just
least once a
at
week.
least once a week, and that's pretty frequent for
Consistent.
us,
Yeah.
pretty consistent. But then, if we don't see each other for like 3 weeks, then we're gonna be like, oh my gosh, like I haven't seen this person in like 3 weeks. That's
Yeah.
crazy,
Yeah.
Then we think that's a long time, and it's like
Yeah.
you have to quote unquote commemorate that, like, oh, it's been
Yeah.
a while since I've seen this person. That's
Yeah.
when you mark it. But there's other people in life where you're like, wait, I haven't talked to this person in years.
Yeah.
Then you're like, oh, I don't know how to talk to you, or
Yeah.
you're right. It's just like we're like strangers again.
Yeah.
It's I guess it just depends on the person.
Yeah. I mean, it's so crazy just because we have two completely different situations. Do you know this is how the I'll tell you how the topic came to be, like, for today. I was talking about, oh well, you were in a moment in time where you were like, dude, I literally have no friends. As in, like, I have no friends out of the one I've had the same friends for, like, I don't know, the same blah 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 number of years. And I'm like, dude, I'm in the moment where I feel like I'm forced to have new friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I was losing friends. And I was like, it's in the matter of the situation where I'm in college where you can literally just walk up to someone on campus and just strike up a conversation with them, and you're stuck with the shitty job and just church and just video games and the same friends that you have, and it's just rinse and repeat.
Right.
That given situation, you are not able to even find someone new, meet someone new. It's
Mm-hmm.
like once in a blue moon. And that really sucks because um you can't help but go back to, like, your, like, college days and be like, dude, I met so many different people.
Mm-hmm.
And then also on the same hands, like, those people you didn't even keep in touch with, or those people weren't even that good for me, those people blah 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 and all these other things, because I don't know why you stopped being in touch with those people. I don't know why you even met those people, and I'm over here, I'm just like, I don't even want to talk to the person next to me in lecture. um and it's kind of crazy because I don't know.
Yeah.
um Again, back to what I was saying, it's like the people I made friends with in middle school and high school, I already had a really good feeling um that I wasn't gonna be that close for and, like, I mentally, emotionally, and physically prepared myself that these next 4 years of my life, I doubt it that they're gonna be that what is this, present in
Mm-hmm.
my life.
Yeah.
and that's like the reality of it. And let's see if I decide to tell you to cut this out or not. But
It's-
I did
yeah.
also, to an extent, kind of fed into that pessimistic point of view, whether or not it was for my own like mental health and emotional health, that I chose a different college and I chose a completely different major, not because I didn't want to be with them, but it would just happen to be that way where I got so separated that it's quite literally impossible to even take the same general education classes with my current or my old high school friends.
Hmm.
And simple as that, people leave.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the reality of it. There will be people that will leave you, and there's no explanation at all. There's no closure at all. And
Yeah.
sometimes you really don't need it. There are plenty of circumstances where someone leaves you high and dry, and then you realize it, and they're like, "Wow, that person was low key shitty for doing that." But there's other situations where it's like they've gone and they've left, but not in a way where it kind of backstabs you or anything.
Hmm.
It's kind of a you turn around and you see where they're at right now, and it's a completely different direction from yours. And all you could do is look at them and be like, I hope you get what you're running after. I hope you achieve whatever you're running after in that situation.
Yeah. Oh, it's about the whole shift in dynamics, really. When
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned that 18 to 30 is really the age where, I guess, the greatest changes in your life happen. And
Yeah.
that's actually, that's fact, and that's not even, like, a debate to be discussed.
Yeah.
A lot of your biggest changes happen here because this is the time where you really start seeing the world as a, ever growing independent person, right?
Yeah.
You're no longer really touching, basis with some of these people that you've touched basis with regularly and gotten to, mingle with in high school and all that stuff.
Yeah.
High school, that's just a place where, you're kind of trained to just be going there, getting an education, every day.
And also that your counselors are the ones that set your schedule. Like some people quite literally only have met and began being friends with each other, acquaintances with each other, because their counselor ended up putting them in the same classes. And yes, that's also like a what are the chances, what are the odds that we've stuck together and all that stuff. But it's like in reality, that's quite literally could have been the only reason why you guys ended up being friends. That you
Yeah.
guys crossed paths,
Yeah.
and that's like a crazy thing. But in college, it's like you are making your own schedule. You're not worrying about whether or not you and this other person have the same class or the same professor and the same discussion.
Hmm.
Like that stuff you don't take in consideration, because guess what? In the bigger picture, in the grander scheme, you're the one paying for these classes, and you're the one that really needs to focus on. It's not the matter of am I going to be with my best friend for this class.
No.
It's going to be am I going to be able to pass this class, like
Yeah.
be
You're
with this professor, with this times, with this schedule.
it's it's ironic that how in a in an environment where you don't have a say in the matter whether or not you're gonna be in that place, right? And you're gonna study this stuff.
Yeah.
That's where you realize you have the most, I guess, stability in terms of who you meet, because you're essentially, I wouldn't say forced, but you're quite obligated to be there out of your albeit out of your control, but you
Yeah.
are poised to be there every day regardless.
Mm.
That's why it becomes such a monotonous pattern. It becomes such an easy thing to get accustomed to
Yeah.
because you see them every day. You
Yeah.
make friends with them or not make friends with them
Yeah.
every day, right?
It's really your choice.
Exactly.
I
And
feel like
yeah,
okay, yes, you do have a choice in high school whether or not to interact with certain people in the class
sure.
and all that stuff. But in college, it's back to what I said in the very first episode, which you should watch and listen to actually if
Yep,
you
I'll
haven't
watch that
already.
one.
But shameless
We
plug.
get
But
recurring videos or recurring views on that one.
yeah,
So
but you what is this? Like back to what I had mentioned in that very first episode. Like once you step foot on campus, no one's gonna tell you what to do and not to do.
Right.
And that also comes down to the social interactions and the people that you meet. And even whether you're aware of it or not, you're gonna end up falling places into people that are both good and bad for you.
Hmm.
But the craziest part, in somehow, in some way, I truly believe that you will be accepted by at least one person. And that's like a real fear that I had in my first year, because everything started kind of crumbling apart for me in at around the end of the first quarter I had at UCSD, where it was like I already knew that there was this impending doom for my social life, that I was going to not lose. That sounds so rough, but basically just drift away and just lose that social life that I was very comfortable with for the past what 6 to 4 years that I've had. That was something constant, and that was something stable in my life.
Right.
And suddenly now it's kind of being drifted and taken away from me, and I have no choice but to accept it. On one hand, I've already had accepted it, and on the other hand, now that I'm actually experiencing it, it makes me feel like all I'm good for being at UCSD was just to study. And I get it. It's supposed to be your degree. That's one thing you should be focusing on. But everyone's always like, this is the best time to socialize. This is the best time to go to your parties and all that stuff. And honestly, that whole entirety of my first year, that is what I did, not the partying. I just made my whole life studying, and I made my whole life making sure I passed these classes, and I made my whole life making sure and quite literally planning out the next 4 years for myself without any intention to make new friends.
And I'm gonna say it's not like one thing what I can pass on to you, and what I for those who are listen to this episode, is that it's not necessarily about you know partying and stuff like that, right? I've mentioned this in the
Yeah.
first episode where I partied the hell out of my
Yeah.
first year.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you really break down into what your goal is for socialization, it's not like the partying is just the means to an end,
Yeah.
or whatever. You don't even have to party. Even just going out and going to a pretty
A JV.
dry, yeah,
Yeah.
pretty dry social, right? Or just, I don't know, it could be
There's so
yeah,
many,
some
so
event.
so many events. There's so many social events in your first 2 weeks of a start of a semester or a quarter, all the time.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
so many flyers out there that always has a social event, and guess what? There are people that really do show up.
No, exactly. And that's why I'm like, to continue what I said, it's just that it's not the partying, or that that's not the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the means to an end. What you're trying to do here is more than just party. It's more than just to socialize. It's to make connections, because it's not only that you're doing that for your making friends, because
Mm-hmm.
you like, yes, you're gonna make friends. I'm like
Yeah.
guaranteed that you're gonna make some friends if you go out there and put yourself out there.
Yeah.
But for your preparation in getting like future prospects of a job later on, or connections, right?
Yeah.
These connections will most likely get that last push for you to get the job you want in the future,
Yeah.
whether that be a corporate job, whether that be some executive,
Freelance,
exactly, freelance executive,
like
some way to get
traveling,
into a certain break into a certain industry. Hell, even you want to take the off
do
the
startup.
yeah, startup, or you want to take the off beaten path and go, I don't know, go into the entertainment business. I know some friends of mine from my first year of college that are already getting big name. They're already big names in DJ spaces, right?
Yeah.
Shout out to you, Club Action. Free endorsement. I love you,
Yeah.
Nicole. But they're
There's an
stuff like
endless
that,
of
right?
possible abilities in your first year, and I'm not saying like it's only in your first year. I truly like I didn't. I'm telling you, I didn't try, and I never in my head I was too busy mourning the loss of an old tattered friendship that
Mm-hmm.
was definitely not salvageable.
Yeah.
no ways to there's no way, like that sounds so mean, and no hate to my old like friends that I've drifted apart from, but there was no way to salvage it. It had ran its course, and I was too busy mourning the loss of that, and I put all my efforts into studies. I completely forgot about how important it is to have a community in a school setting, and having that support and that strong like pillar when it comes to you studying and you and your academics. I
Mhm.
had I personally do like the idea of being alone versus being lonely, but in that moment, I definitely felt that whole entire first year I was both alone and lonely, and it felt very odd and it felt very weird, and I didn't know what to do with myself. But I realized, like, even in my second year now, you always will always have a chance to quite literally socialize. There's it never ends. There's the door never closes for you once you're in like university or college, community or not, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like you will always have an opportunity. It never ends in your first year.
Yeah. You're Here's the thing. You're in an institution, like you're in a like, an academic institution, you're gonna have to talk to people and make
Yeah.
friends. That's just the, the
Even if
truth
it's
of
a
it.
classmate friend, like those are
That's
definitely
fine.
super
Yeah,
chill.
definitely.
I've met the most chill people who are just classmate friends for me, and now I suddenly have their phone numbers, like,
Yeah.
or suddenly I have their Instagram, and now it's like an extra person that I'm like, oh hey, I remember being in this class with
Mm-hmm.
that one person. It was literally I only met them and I only knew them for like 10 weeks, dude. Like stuff like that. It's like you don't really ever finish, or you don't ever feel like it's too late to start socializing and start being involved, and that's kind of like a beautiful thing about being in a college space, in an
Yep.
educational space. Like it is okay to feel late about social situations, because you would eventually find that little group or that person or whatever you're looking for being in college.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't, it's true, it's like your first year does kind of set the tone of how you're going to be socially, academically, and like professionally and personally.
Yep. Yep.
But that stuff never ends. I'm still socializing, and I'm still meeting new people, and on top of that I'm still learning new ways to study and new concepts, and I'm always learning something new about what I want to do in the future.
Yeah.
That stuff really just never stops. It's just learning how to manage it.
Yeah. It's about the most essential thing about that is striking a balance, right? You have things to do. You have um, you know, responsibilities and obligations to meet for yourself,
Yeah.
that you should be doing this for your professional growth. You're
Yeah.
working towards a degree, you got to lock in from time to time. But that
Yeah.
doesn't mean you should shut out from meeting friends or making new friends,
Yeah.
regardless of how intensive your major is,
Who's
right?
stopping you from locking in with other people,
Oh,
you know?
exactly. Why should you be an engineering major
Can
and you do not socialize? So let's
let's break that down.
that's a whole ass stigma. I mean, that applies to both me and Ren because I graduated as an electrical engineer.
I thought you did
And
physics engineering.
it's
Same
same
difference to you,
difference,
huh? Oh yeah,
really. I
okay.
mean, it's
Fine.
applied physics in my electrical engineering.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
but yeah, like why,
That is
there's a
actually
whole
funny.
yeah,
You're
there's a
right.
whole thing about that. Like that's a whole ass different conversation. But I will just say this: we'll probably talk about like we can probably have
We
like a
can
mini
we can trash
conversation.
talk about
We can have a
STEM.
mini conversation about STEM
Yeah.
in another episode.
Whoever's interested in that, which
I don't know.
we'll
That
see.
might just be for a STEM
Let
homies
us know
here.
though.
Yeah, let us know.
Let us know.
But yeah,
Like
the
that's actually
whole
so important.
thing. Yeah, exactly. There's a whole thing about striking a balance.
Yeah.
You have to strike a balance between your obligations to yourself and your professional growth, but also you have an obligation to connect with people,
Yeah.
because the thing is, human beings as we are, we're not meant to be solitary creatures.
Yeah.
We are meant for each other.
Yeah.
Ironic because that's that was one of the cornerstones we had for like last Sunday's message, right,
Mm-hmm.
at church,
Yeah.
is that people are ultimately made for other people.
Yeah.
We're here to build each
Simple
other
as
up.
that.
We're here to share a lot of ourselves with each other, right? And that's what flourishes us, aside from just being a corporate machine or
Yeah.
an academic machine,
Yeah.
right? Or something that borders along the line of
Just something
being just
dehumanizing.
something not even human at all.
Yeah.
The whole point of being human is to connect. So
Yeah.
again,
It's just a matter of truly like learning yourself. That's what I did.
yeah.
I know like it's not the best. The way I did it in my first year, don't recommend it. It was terrible. I was very upset with myself, and I was very frustrated with myself because I thought I knew myself,
Mm-hmm.
and I love learning stuff about myself, and I love how low my social battery is, that I can be by myself
Mm-hmm.
and I can have my me time. But I learned so much. I took time to learn so much. Um, but I wish I was learning about myself while trying to surround myself with people that I wanted to be surrounded with.
Well, that's just your first year. I mean,
Yeah, that's
you
the thing.
can
It's like
you
that's
have
kind
this
of.
year still and next year after
Mm-hmm.
that to kind of strike a balance.
I will say that like on one hand, I'm kind of glad I did that in my first year. I feel like everyone does that in their first year. But
Mm-hmm.
damn, I was going so extreme with it. It was just tough. And I'm really glad I found the people that I am with today, and I can feel so secure and feel so confident
Yeah.
in being with those people, because those are the people that build me up. Those are the people that I can push them to be the greatest, and they can do the same for me.
Right.
And that's very important to have, guys. Like, just putting it out there.
I'm gonna backtrack to what we said about like what you said about there's a whole inevitable feeling,
Mm-hmm.
because once you get out of high school and you start stepping into college, and even after college, there's a feeling of an inevitability of change, and I think that's
Yeah.
what a lot of people
Oh,
kind of
we can
struggle
talk about
with.
that all day.
No, I mean that's
We
why
could truly do
that's why
this.
we have this. We're putting in
Oh,
this
I love this
conversation.
part. I love this part.
Change. We all know that. I think a lot of us here who are like who would listen to this is that,
Hate change.
yeah, exactly. We are no
Everyone
strangers to
hates
change,
change.
but we always hate it when it's thrust upon our face. We hate changing because it breaks our comfort, which
Like,
is expected, but we have to also realize that um, change doesn't have to be in one at it was like sorry change doesn't have to be all at once,
yeah,
right? It's gonna happen. That inevitability is gonna be there,
yeah.
but it's up to you, actually, for the most part.
It's your circle of control.
Exactly, you have to find a way to get that back into your control, whether it's to state that, hey, this is going a little too quick. I'm still gonna preserve some of this
Yeah,
and then slowly change it, right? I'm
yeah,
gonna give you an example about me.
yeah,
So I started my new job, right?
yeah.
And like, for goodness sakes, I have to be at work uh, up in Rancho Bernardo, almost 30 miles from here. Oh,
It's
exactly 30
insane.
miles from here, by 7:15 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Coupled with the fact that there's shitty traffic going all the way up there,
And then going
and
back
even worse
home.
going back home,
Oh,
I have to deal with that, right?
yeah,
That's a change I was dealing with for the last 2-3 weeks, and I'm still even dealing with it up to now.
yeah,
I have to wake up early, or considerably earlier than what I did before. Um, and I have, that's just something I have to realize I have to deal with. But I'm not taking it all at once, right? I'm
yeah,
not, dealing with it all at once. I have to tell myself, hey, just wake up the next day and just, get your ass out of bed, freshen up, get your ass on the road,
yeah,
call it a you know call it a day, do your job,
yeah.
go back home, however long the traffic is,
Do what you need to do.
and always think for yourself, what is it that I traded for this, right?
Yeah,
I traded in what was a really toxic environment with a shitty, what's it called, a shitty schedule, which they what's it called,
shitty
proclaim that it's,
workload too.
yeah, they they proclaim that, oh, it's you can work whenever you want, just get the job done. But then they'll still be on your ass if you do or don't do something that they like later on that night at like midnight, and you're like, what the fuck? I'm working 24/7. I'm not trying to, like, live
Work
to work. I'm
bleeds out of
exactly,
hours.
it's work to live. I'm touching a little bit more about my personal struggles with that, right? Maybe that's a little bit of a tangent, but
Yeah.
going back to what I said about what's the change there. If I wanted to change something, I have to be willing to pay a little bit for it.
Yeah.
I have to internalize the fact that it's okay if I wake up just an hour earlier than what I used to, so I can get there on, early enough that I can do my work, fit an 8 hour schedule of work in 8 hours, and then leave exactly at 4:15.
Yeah.
I traded in, was it? I traded in like a quote unquote fluid schedule and, work more flexible schedule, but a toxic environment and
That
toxic
literally
workload
drained.
that literally drained me for a more stable schedule. There
Yeah.
has to be some sort of payoff. And honestly, I think that was pretty worth it, at least for like the foreseeable future and
Pretty worth it right now.
what I'm trying to, capitalize and prioritize and
Yeah.
put effort into in my life right now, which is my personal pursuits, trying to find a solid balance in my life. That is what I have to pay the price for, and that's okay with me.
You're sounding really adultish right now. It's
Oh, don't say
scaring
that.
me.
Please don't say that.
As a person that's barely trying to accept that they're supposed to be a young adult, I don't like this conversation that we're having. But guess what? We're having it
You
anyways.
think I like it as well?
Exactly.
I
I don't
have to
think
put this
anyone
face
likes
on.
it.
I have to put this face on for 40 hours every single
Oh, it's
weekday, or for every weekday
terrible.
of the week.
Terrible, terrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just it really is that inevitability
Mm-hmm.
that I know a lot of people that just don't want to grow up, and I get it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people that I know were forced to grow up
Right.
in so many different ways, and they have to be independent in so many different ways. And now that, like, it's, I guess, our time to kind of just step up and be the next people who are changing and that are moving on a mass scale in the world. Like, I couldn't imagine it.
Right.
I can't even imagine the fact that when I got my first paycheck, it was just straight into my bank account. And when I first got my credit card, like, it was just there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they just trusted me that, hey, we're gonna give you this limit and you can just spend it. Like, what? Like, are you serious?
Keep talking. I'm just gonna grab water from my.
Yeah, you're good. And stuff like that. It's like, I get it that that's terrifying, and I get it that it makes you feel old and it makes you feel miserable that this is what it's going to be for the next 20-ish years. But that's the thing. That's what it's going to be for the next 20 years. All the things that you talked about with your friends in the past, from middle school, from high school, those things are now achievable and tangible things that you can reach out to.
Right.
And even more so, being in college, you will meet the people who will quite literally make or break your chances of getting there.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many people that will move in randomly with someone that they barely knew at a dorm, and next thing you know, you guys are just stuck by the hip. There's so many people that you meet in a discussion, and next thing you know, you guys are taking classes together because you guys happen to be around the same major.
Mm-hmm.
And all this other stuff. And even more so for me, you don't know if you're gonna be the type of person that will become such close friends that you guys were just acquainted to in high school. Stuff like that, it feels like it's out of your control, but it was always in your control. And next thing you know, you are young adulting. Next thing you know, you are living that life that you were so scared of. It's the matter of acknowledging that whatever you're going into for the next 4 years, the next whatever years, it is the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why you gotta put your blind trust and blind faith into that, because you need to start learning to build your confidence that I am capable of doing this. I am capable of taking the baby steps to get there. Because I'm the type of person that brute forces things. That, like, I have the dilemma in front of me. I have the unknown in front of me. And you know what? I'm the person that says, fuck it. I'm going to go straight into it. I don't care. Like, I have nothing to lose. I have everything to lose. Um, but I'm the type of person that brute forces it. But that doesn't mean I'm the type of person that bites off more than I can chew. All
Yeah.
the time. All the time, I mean. I bite off too much than I could chew recently. And look where that got me in the ER. But
Yeah,
all this other
you're about to
stuff,
do it too with your new
yeah,
classes, and you're.
and along
But
with
we'll
my
talk.
classes,
We'll talk about that. But
but all that other stuff, it's like you don't have to feel like you need to chow down on this dilemma and this thing that you see as a dilemma. You can cut and choose what you can prioritize right now.
yeah,
And that's exactly essentially what you're saying. It's like what you prioritize and what you realize that you need to prioritize is your stability financially and mentally.
mm-hmm.
So that's what you got to do.
Yep,
You will cut your losses and you find your pros and cons list and you would choose that decision very carefully and very meticulously now that you know it. Who cares if you made that mistake? The fact that you're learning and you're actively changing what you are doing in your life, that is the whole point of your 20s and your 30s and all this stuff. Anytime post high school graduation.
yep. It's about learning yourself, right? Um, with all these different changes that are happening during you know your young adult to young professional years, right? The 18s to 30s we've been talking about, is that this is a time where you learn so much about yourself because you're not beholden anymore to what someone states for you as being social, or
You
as a
prior
byproduct of being in school, right?
Yeah.
Like, yes, you're in school, but because you have so much control now over your schedule, really, right? You just choose to subscribe to, oh, I take this class, or
I could do this
I
8 a.m.
or I accept the offer from this job knowing that this is the schedule and the
Yeah.
workload, right? you know you essentially have the control, um which is, that's the part about it,
Yeah.
because you have so much control now. And for sometimes we know it or we don't know it.
Mm.
um this is the time where you learn the most. You learn the most
Yeah.
about yourself, because of all these dynamics you start, and shifts in dynamics and changes
Mm-hmm.
between yourself and the people around you, or the people that you're meeting, right? Or people that even shift out of your life. All these things, you start realizing, who am I really? When you take my friends, my family, my confidants, everyone
The
out
equation.
of the equation for just a little bit. Just put yourself in, like, the proverbial void,
Yeah.
right? Who am I? Who What makes me tick? What are my passions? What are things that make me, give life to me?
What's my aspirations, you
What's my
know?
aspirations, right? It actually, um it actually surprises me that it's only now that some of us, actually, I'll do it. I'll probably speak for a lot of us here, in Gen Z age, right? That we only see this and realize this as we go through this change. Societal standards expect us to already have this who am I, and have an answer to this who am I question by the time you're 18 and about to go to college. Have
Which is freaking
you
diabolical.
realize that,
It's
right?
fucked up. Yes.
In the form of, do you, like, you should know your major by the time you enter first year college.
That you should be thinking about your major when you're literally in 8th grade and going through, I don't know, a friendship breakup. Like, shit, that is not my first thought,
No,
you know?
no, exactly. And that's why, you know because of such a broken and disjointed societal system that we have, unfortunately, we kind of have to do the inner child workings
Yeah.
in that.
And
You
you can't,
always have
you
to ask
don't,
yourself.
yeah, and you don't have to stop feeding your inner child and feeding yourself with all the things that you thought that you had to leave behind because you are growing up.
Yeah.
The whole point is, I feel, when you become a young adult, is that sometimes the best way to face the unknown is to forget that you're facing something so big and something so
Yeah.
scary. Because every single day, you are still doing it. You're still getting up and you're
Mm-hmm.
still going to your
Yeah.
classes and you're still choosing to skip a class and say you're going to watch the video lecture and you never do.
Mm-hmm.
And you're still going to end up going out on that Friday partying when you shouldn't be. And you should be spending 6 hours in a freaking study room with all your friends and all that stuff. And next thing, and you can still be the type of person that goes, dude, I'm going to buy myself those shoes because I've always wanted them as a kid. Or, dude, I'm gonna buy that video game because it's on sale and I don't care
And I haven't had time to
to
play,
play
but
it.
now I do have time to play.
Exactly. Is that not still being a child? Isn't that this is the best time to be a child adult? It's the most socially acceptable time to be a child adult. Do all the stupid crap that you've always wanted to do, but damn, you're gonna find people that you can get your shit together with, and you're gonna find people that are always gonna be there when you are literally about to have a breakdown before your final.
Yep.
And you're gonna have people that you're gonna cry with over something stupid when you guys watch a movie late at night when you guys know that you guys should be studying,
Mm-hmm.
like all these other things. Those are still actions that are teaching you to become a responsible adult, but those are the things that are slowly but surely healing yourself in ways that you aren't aware of, maybe that you are. And those are things that forever connections that you will always remember with the people that you have met throughout your college years. And that's a big thing. That's stuff that I feel like, I don't know about you, but stuff that I would still be thinking about post grad.
Yeah.
Stuff that I can look back and say, I'm so glad I did that, even though it made me end up doing this or doing that.
Yeah. You can say, I you're made. Fuck. Now I'm thinking.
Making you
I should.
reminisce,
I know.
huh?
I know. Here's the thing. That it's true. It's true what you're saying because that still applies to me now, even as someone who's already out of college, right? And maybe it was just my personal like physical exhaustion that just stopped me from doing so.
Yeah.
Which at that point everyone's gonna say, yeah, if you're physically tired, go. It's fine. Take a break.
Yeah.
Or take a rest. But you're right because I honestly I had the choice whether or not to go to ISONOC.
Oh yeah.
And I really should have. I'm thinking about it. I really should have. It was the right timing. I just found a new job. You know,
Wanted to put that
just
first or
wanted to.
something.
Sure, we'll talk about that. But it's like I just got a new job. It was just like perfect timing because it's a good way to celebrate and kind of commemorate. But what stopped me really was just the physical exhaustion, and I think that's just that happens. Life happens, right? So that's fine. But anything else, nothing else should have stopped me from going.
Yeah.
Right. And that's probably why I don't have I'm not experiencing like FOMO right now.
Yeah.
It's because I knew that I would have gone had it not been for physical exhaustion. I think FOMO for me now hits like, if I there's something I really want to do, even though it goes beyond like, my reasonable means, like goddamn, the concert, like the rave would have been $250 for one night. My God. And I still probably would have paid for it had I
was pushed enough.
Had someone pushed me enough, and someone would have said, "Go take a fucking Celsius, shotgun that shit right now.
Let's go."
And we're going.
You would have done it.
I would have done it.
You
You
would have
know,
in a
I think for
heartbeat.
better or for worse, no one did it.
Yeah.
Which in a way I'm grateful for, but at the same time, it's just like, could have gone, could have not gone, but
It's in the past now,
at least I know that it wasn't like, an inherent internal scare for me. Like that shied me to go. It was really just because I was too exhausted. But again, other than that,
Yeah.
you're right. You go do what you do, as someone who's still nurturing their inner kid, right?
Yeah.
As
You
someone
don't ever
who,
stop doing that.
yep, as someone who was, you know, may have not had all their inner child needs met early on, even with your parents and all of that,
Yeah.
right? With your, even some of your friends, there's needs and wants that your inner child wanted that were unanswered.
Yeah.
This is the time that you can be the parent to that inner child. So again,
You can be,
it's all about
you and your
the
friends
learning.
could be the ones that are healing your inner
Yep.
kids, like it doesn't, you don't have to do it alone. That's the best part.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's on the same page over the fact that this adulting shit is scary, it's annoying, it's
Yeah.
frustrating, fucking hate it. On top of that, I have to fucking pass all my classes. Insane. Everyone's on the same page, and there's a lot of socially acceptable things that should, I feel like, are kind of crazy that they're socially acceptable in college.
Right. Underage drinking? What?
Like
Like
it's so
what?
normalized.
What's so normalized? I mean, it's to the point that even like college of personnel, college officials, they're all like, "Oh yeah, we know you guys drink, but we don't. That's it's just part of the culture that we don't
It's
even
a
bother."
universal thing,
It's a
yeah.
it's a whole universal thing, and just as long as you don't let us catch you during legal occurrences, right? If
Yeah.
like say if there's a if there's a party that's getting rolled, as long as we don't see any immediate alcohol and there's no immediate like
As long as there's no cup of liquor in
a
your
cup of
hand,
liquor
then we
and
didn't
you're
see anything.
underage, yeah, we didn't see it. That's like a lot of people are gonna say like, no, you shouldn't, you
For
still
fuck's
shouldn't
sake,
do it.
UCSD has events where they give out free beer to students that are
And then
21 and up.
yeah,
Like, come on, guys. This is normal.
yeah, it's very normal. I mean, doesn't
Yeah.
help the fact that our culture itself is a drinking culture. So I
But
mean,
also, another culture is just the fact that you can leave your whole iOS system on a freaking desk and go take a fat dookie in the library, and you'll come back and it'll be still be there
mm-hmm.
most of the time. Most of the time.
Most of
Don't.
the time, yeah,
Like,
yeah, would not
that's
recommend, but
crazy.
yeah.
Well, I wouldn't recommend it. I would never do that.
Mm-mm.
But like that, I've seen so many people that leave their whole Apple ecosystem just straight up on the desk. Didn't even put it in their backpack. No nothing. They just left it out there, and they went to go pee for the longest time.
Yep.
And I, as a good human being, would look out for them. But it's just insane that they would just do that.
Yeah.
They would just close or
Yeah.
some people are just closing their eyes and putting their whole Apple ecosystem, their phone out too, and
And
just leaving
yeah,
it and
exactly. No one's
knocking
gonna.
out.
They're expecting that no one will take it, and for the most part, no one will.
No, yeah, crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Also, people just casually streaking at like 12 a.m. at the library, like I don't know, like crazy
Oh,
normal stuff like that.
yeah. I mean, it's probably midterms, and they're probably stressing out. But
It's funny.
no, I get it. So it's a bit of a release. I don't. I wouldn't say I do that, but I probably do something in the terms of just getting drunk,
And
really.
also, like, frats and sororities being normalized.
Yeah.
That's still a little crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like, okay, good for them.
So socializing in college, right?
You don't say that till you see socially dead, man.
No, I mean, I think we've gone over.
Yeah, we
Pretty
talked
much,
about
we
this.
really have talked
Okay,
about this
I need
throughout
to
the whole
stop
thing.
joking about UC socially dead because quite literally, I'm sick and tired of people that know me that don't go to UCSD always sending me these UCSD TikToks where it's just like people being socially dead or being socially awkward. I'm like, I get it, guys. The joke is overran. Like, I'm tired of it. Here's my genuine take on it. And this goes for any other freaking institution. Your social life depends on you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because it's because UCSD. I'm gonna do this right now because UCSD cut up their whole system into so many 8 different colleges and separated the campus in so many different ways that they would prevent protests, that makes it
Mm.
socially dead. And that the fact that they keep over accepting people, wrongfully not giving international students all this stuff that they need, and out of state students all this stuff, and admitting people that are in state that they're over admitting, that it's so hard to socialize in these classes. Your discussion classes are the same amount as your high school class. And that's a discussion, not the lecture.
Yeah, lecture you have like 300 plus, but then what? Only like how many people in discussions?
There's
Crazy.
25, 28. Like, are you serious? It's so hard. There's so much pressure to quite literally find someone to socialize with in a class, both lecture and discussion. It's hard to just go out there and put yourself out there when you feel like there's so many eyes on you,
Mm.
regardless of a big class size or not. I know there's so many people out there that really don't know how to navigate through that type of stuff. But here's the thing, I feel like Gen Z is just really good at being socially awkward. Like, to the point where if you went up to me as someone that can be very outgoing towards complete strangers, a lot of people tell me that, even though I say I'm a freaking introvert. If you went up to me and you were socially awkward, I would not even bat an eye. I'd be like, okay. I'd like, okay, I'm gonna straight up. The fact that you struck up a conversation with me already says a lot, and you seem pretty chill. Then that's it. Like, I don't care if you're socially awkward. The fact that you tried, good job. Like, hell yeah. You know what? Hell yeah.
Yes, because you get that whole like I know you awkward about it, and you know I probably am awkward about it. So if one of us is awkward, there's kind of that subtle rule that's like, I get what you were trying to do. It's okay. Good job.
Yeah, dude, I literally, okay. I recently took a class that was filled with first years because it's an intro class for
Mm.
chemistry. I freaking hate chemistry. I'm sorry, but
Mm.
all of these first years are asking me these questions, and all of these first years are like putting themselves out there to me
Yeah.
in ways that I when I was in my first year had never done. And I genuinely think it's because for me, I already felt like I knew the concerns that they had socially being at UCSD. That they're like, no one's gonna. We literally had a group next to our discussion that would not talk to each other, and they literally used Chat GPT to finish the discussion homework. And it was
Oh.
group work. They never had a proper conversation with each other. We're over here yapping about the craziest shit we've ever done during our 3 months of summer.
Mm-hmm. See, like
That is what you make
that's
of it. That's a
crazy.
social life right there,
It is
guys.
the fact that there's already a clear divide on what some of the younger students do compared to even how you do it.
Yeah.
Look, you guys actually still spend the time talking, right?
Yeah.
And trying to hash something out, whereas these younger, college students, they could just say, I'm gonna just use Chat GPT and be done with it.
They literally shared a freaking document every single Monday, Wednesday, and never had a proper conversation with each other. Not a hi, how are you? How was your weekend? How was your
Yeah.
day, dude? It was insane. Um, and I'm honestly glad that even me as an individual who doesn't have a really, really huge social life in the way that you had a social life and during your college days, I'm
Mm.
glad that I was able to at least inspire 3 other people in their first year, in their first quarter, to not be afraid about socializing with random people, because that they were terrified of that. When they found out I was a first year, they were like, "Oh my god, like you don't look like a first year, or you don't look like a second year." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I don't even whatever." And they would just ask me all these random questions. They really put themselves out there because I'm the one that step foot first and be like, it is okay to be socially awkward. It is
Right.
okay to have the same conversation of, hey, what's your name? What year are you? What are your pronouns? What are you majoring in? Where are you from? Are you in state, out of state? Are you dorming? All these, you know, sounds like we're freaking speed dating. But I'm so glad that what I did to change someone else's social life during their college experience, especially in their first year where they're learning the most things,
Yeah.
that it's okay to be basic about your conversations, that it's okay to quite literally start a conversation with how was your weekend.
Yeah, it's
It's
the art of
not
small talk,
it's
really.
not awkward, and
Even if,
it's
yeah,
even
yeah,
if it
even if
is,
you're awkward, yeah.
yeah, it's if it's awkward then it's okay. And if it's not awkward, it's okay. It's not boring to ask those questions, and it's not unbait like to the point where like you're thinking that these people are like, oh, this person just isn't interested because they're asking how was my weekend just to ask how was my weekend. No,
No.
it's the conversation that you make after it. It's the
Yeah.
small talk that can turn into random conversations.
Yeah, exactly.
And
You
that was
both are
all
just
from a
yeah.
single discussion
You
too,
both are
mind
just
you.
trying to find ways to, to find common things to
Yeah.
talk about, right? And even if it's not common, at least, like, the whole thing is to show interest in what that other person's doing, because
Yeah.
that's showing intentionality that, you are there to get to know that person, and, make friends with them, right?
Yeah. Even for us,
Yeah.
even for 10 weeks.
Yeah. I forget that even from time to time.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I'm also too, maybe I'm just a little too, uh um you know I'm not put too often in that situation nowadays where I actually make friends. So, I mean, um for me, when it's, not that I'm out of college, right,
Yeah.
it I actually have to try even harder to make friends.
Yeah.
But the times that, I'm very grateful for the opportunities that I get when someone introduces me to, like, a friend group that they know, and then they're like, oh, hey, like, I want to introduce Rico to you, you guys, and blah blah blah, and then suddenly I get to just round robin basically all their friend groups, and I'm just
Yeah.
trying to, most of the time these days it's through like a karaoke night, or
Yeah.
someone's throwing a house
Yeah.
party, and I just meet people like there, right?
It's
So
a I realize it really is kind of a privilege to be put in that situation, in that environment where it's socially okay to meet someone and never have to be forced to have a conversation with them again or feel forced that you need to keep up with them ever again.
yeah, you're just you're just being
There is
amicable.
no, yeah, there is no ties in once in the moment where you meet someone, and whether you're forced to or not in a class, whether you meet someone and say and you know their names and you know their year and you know their major, you can never see them again. You can never feel like you want to say hi to them on campus randomly again, and it would be perfectly fine.
Right.
That's just stuff that's just the reality of it. You never feel embarrassed or awkward about the fact that you tried and it just didn't work out. That's just the reality of it.
Yeah,
And
and you tried, at least,
even
you can say you
outside of
tried.
college,
Yeah.
like the fact that
I mean, like, obviously, as long as, you're not being weird about it or anything,
yeah.
right? I mean, obviously, that's the thing. If As long as you're not being weird about it, and you're just like, okay, well, I tried being friends with this person genuinely, and I wasn't, make didn't make them feel too uncomfortable or whatever. It's right. Like, as long as you genuinely were just trying to make conversation, you weren't being weird about it, and it
It's
just
not
didn't,
that
and it
deep.
just, yeah, exactly, it just didn't hit off. It's not that deep, really.
Yeah.
So, you know, I guess, though, what I will have to say in regards to just socializing in college is just, it's just that, with all of these different things in life that makes us ever closer to being very individualistic and isolated,
Yeah.
hell, chat GPT, right? Your AI tools. We,
Yeah.
not, I didn't have that. For better for worse, I didn't have that when
Yeah.
I was in college. Really, we didn't have AI tools at all to help us out like that. So whenever we were discussing, you know, uh, class topics, right, and then we have to write an essay about it or whatever, right? We
Yeah.
actually had to go and discuss about it.
Yeah.
You know, you had to talk, or say, you know even I'll touch into this a little bit, but, like, and then we'll talk about it in probably in you a different episode or something.
Yeah.
But even dating, right, in college, it's
Mhm.
you know, at
Jesus.
that time, like it was just picking up, right? Online dating was just being, was picking up, but even more so now, where, you know, online dating apps are on
Some
such a
people
big,
that
right?
sometimes
People
that's
be
the
meeting
first
Hinge,
thing.
bro. Like
Yeah,
literally,
that's the first thing that people do who are out of state or international
like
students. They just make a Hinge profile, put UCSD, and
call it a day. Oh
call
my
it a
god.
day.
Oh
That's
my
how they
god.
meet other people.
I don't know if I should say this. I might cut this out, but
Okay.
it'll be funny. I just hope, if you hear this and you know who you are, if you watch this, read this, not read this. If you hear this episode and you know who you are, and you know exactly what I'm about to say,
Oh gosh.
I say this, and I say this out of love, and I say this only because someone told me. I'm not trying to out you. That's why I'm not saying your name.
Uh huh.
But someone that we know, like very close to us actually, got on
Uh-huh.
Hinge and started seeing somebody from Orange County.
Oh
And
god.
apparently that's why this person's been a lot like happier. Apparently, according to what your ate told me,
Huh.
your ate van told me.
Mm.
I was like, huh, interesting. I'd never thought he'd meet someone. Sorry, brother, I love you, but
That's crazy work.
I mean, he has, he's his own, he has his own, like,
You gotta do
very
what you gotta do to
unique
have any type of
personality.
social.
He has his own unique personality.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Do you know who it is?
I think I have a good feeling.
Okay.
We'll elaborate more
Well,
later.
of course, this is just hearsay from your ate, but I have to confirm with her. But apparently, you know, he met someone through Hinge, and right now they're just chopping it up, right?
Good for them.
We have to see if there's some truth to that, to that whole
Very
thing.
interesting.
But think of it this way: back then, you didn't have Hinge, you didn't have Tinder, you didn't have all of these dating
You
apps.
sound
and
like an
stuff.
oldie right now, but you're so right. That's the thing. You're so right.
Because I mean, the reason why I sound like an oldie is because this happened like halfway through our generation.
Yeah.
All these
This
different
boom
things
of
happened
everything.
between the start of Gen Z, which was me.
Imagine how hard it was, or how hard it would be
Mm-hmm.
for my generation now without dating apps.
Yeah,
They actually had to go scary. They had
have
to go
they have
and
to go,
actually
no, yeah,
strike up a conversation.
exactly.
Like, oh my
But see,
fucking god.
think of it this way: like dating apps, because they're quote unquote deemed necessary now, because
That's
people
sad.
are so individualistic about their social lives, right?
That is insane.
It
Yeah.
is. It is. Look, you would never see nobody, almost nobody you will ever see in college walking down, what's it called? Like walking down campus,
Yeah.
and they're with their homies, right?
Yeah.
And then they would see, like, a cute girl, as they'd be like, "Yo, hey, yo,
Strike
go
up a
talk to her,"
conversation.
right? You would not hear that.
That's once in a blue moon.
That's
I'll
a
tell you.
very, yeah, exactly.
I'll tell you that.
To even like
It's
to
it
even
would be socially acceptable, but the likelihood of that ever happening?
okay,
Ah.
okay. Think of it this way, in a perspective too. If you do that right now, where it's just, it's you and a bunch of homies and a bunch of dudes, your friends,
Yeah.
and y'all were trying to follow a girl, that's socially, if you were to see that as a bystander, that's so off-putting.
It is very off-putting.
That's
It
why
was a group. That is weird.
it is
Yeah.
very weird.
If it was just you and you're like, oh, maybe I should do my that.
Yeah.
That's a different
No,
situation.
but like, you see how, like, the narrative, like, there's a lot of
the
narrative
norm,
shifts,
the
right?
new norm.
I'm not saying this as like to, I'm not trying to step over the fact that some people do feel uncomfortable about this, because
That's
very
real.
valid, right?
Yeah, very real.
If there's people that feel uncomfortable being approached like that, then that's completely valid.
Yeah.
But think of it this way: back then, it was socially acceptable for, a group of guys who thought a girl was cute to just go up and try to, strike up a conversation and shoot their shot, right?
Yeah.
If you do that now, you're kind of seen as like a
Creep.
like a creep and kind of like low key an asshole too, right? A misogynistic asshole.
For a whole group to do
Yeah,
that?
but I mean, the thing is
Crazy.
though, the context is you're just trying to talk to someone you think cute, and if they're not interested, well, just respectfully leave them alone.
Yeah. Simple as that.
That's how
The fact
it.
that you shot your shot was
Mhm.
good for you.
That's how it should be,
Yeah.
right? That's how it was before. I don't nowadays, right? Because to
Anything can
even
happen
get to
nowadays.
nowadays, you to even talk to somebody that you think is remotely cute, you have to dig around your network first to see who is mutuals with that girl
Yeah.
or that
Yeah,
guy,
you're right.
and then you reach out to that guy or girl that is mutuals with them and say, hey, I heard you know this
This
girl or
person.
this
Yeah.
guy or this person, mind if I mind wingmanning me a little bit,
Yeah.
and then plan it
Happens
out at a
too
party,
often.
and be like, yeah, I got you, bro. Like, actually, we're gonna go to this
This is
party
funny.
next week.
This is
There's
so
actually a
funny.
party
This is
next.
so familiar to something that's kind of happening right now.
No,
Not for me. Not for
but
me.
you see how it is, right? You don't
Yeah.
just go up and talk to them, which is crazy. You have to dig through your connections, your
Yeah.
mutuals, and just go, hey, I think that girl or that guy is cute or that person's cute.
Yeah.
Do you mind introducing me to them, wingmanning me? And then that
Yeah.
person is probably gonna be like, yeah, we can set something up. Actually, there's gonna be a party this coming weekend, and I think
So
they're
much
going. You want to come
energy.
through? Exactly. It's so
I'm
much
sorry.
energy for
That's why
so minimal actual
interaction.
interaction. So,
This is exactly why I stick to getting my degree. It's a lot of
well, I
work.
mean, that's fine, but you again, my voice here for you and
Yeah.
for the ones listening here is to strike a balance,
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
You don't necessarily have to go so far as trying to date persistently through dating apps or like trying to
Yeah.
build through your connections, right? You don't got to do that if you don't got to.
Yeah.
But the fact, or you should still probably maintain that social connection in your life, even if it's not what you perceive as as your fairy tale way of socializing.
Yeah.
you sh- it's still important because we're social beings.
Yeah. Don't ever try and take that away from yourself. The self isolation shit, nah.
Mm-hmm.
You're always gonna need to interact with someone.
Yeah.
And don't do it just because you need a quote unquote lock in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, bitch, don't play with me right now.
Yeah.
Anyways, but speaking of which, since well, down to it all, I will say back to what I said in the first episode again. I am very grateful and I'm very thankful that the odds were in my favor because let me boast about how great my social life is personally. I meet two people in my discussion, we hit it off. We're still friends to this day, all three of us.
Yeah.
The great people. I don't even catch up with them that often, but they're so down to earth and they're such like good people that are willing to do good around this world. I'm so happy and I'm so excited for them and the stuff that they're gonna do in the future. Next thing you know, I find out that I can be friends with these people that I was never really close with in high school, and here we are like going out, hanging out, networking, and finding other people that are like minded and all that stuff, and finding other people together.
Yeah.
I didn't have to socialize alone. I didn't have to expand my network alone. And those are people that I can confidently say that they're people that will be with me for the next parts of my life, the next chapters of my life. And those are people that I can like I would give an arm and a leg to, you know?
Right.
And then there's people that I feel like I've met these past year and almost 2 years now to like push them and make sure that they're confident and they're making all the decisions that they feel like they shouldn't be doubting themselves on and second guessing themselves on.
Mm-hmm.
And the best thing is that whatever I come to, church has been my constant, dude.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep boasting it again and again. The fact that throughout all of this and throughout me losing my like fading away and drifting apart from my old high school friends, the one thing I've always had since 20 freaking 16 was my friends from church, my
Yeah.
best friends from church. There was always this constant in my life that even though I felt academically alone and I didn't have a pillar in at school on campus, I knew that whenever I would come home from campus and every Sunday, I would have a place where I did feel supported and I did feel love for who I was and the fact that academics don't define me. And they knew that I without them telling me, they were proud of how far I've gone and they're proud of the stuff I've done,
Right.
stepping into college. And that's a very so grateful place to be
Oh
in.
no, for
I
sure.
have nothing to say about that. That's kind of like just wow.
Yeah, it's something else when there's friends you make, but the stipulate or what's it called this the whole caveat stipulation nuance is that these aren't just friends, they're your
This is
essentially
my
you are.
family.
Yeah, like how school, high school kind of forced you to be with some people, albeit
Yeah.
only for like 4 years, right?
Yeah.
Limited time.
Yeah.
And you had to learn how to get along with these people. The caveat with church is that, right, assuming that, for the ones listening here, right, assuming that you go to church too, it's like the one great, one of the silver linings that a young adult, a youth has in church is that the people that you're there with, you're all that also applies to you in the sense that you are low key, it's an institution where you are low key forced to
Be with each other
socialize
and
and be
be
with each other and get to grow with each other.
once once or every more than once every week, you know?
Yeah, yeah, once or more than once every week. And the thing is, there's no time limit really that it puts on you. That's
Yeah.
the greatest part about it. It's like you are once you are there, it only just depends if that person will stay in church or not, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm really grateful that like through whatever was changing in my first year, being in that church community was always my constant and that was a pillar that I could really rely on. And even now, like obviously, like it's it's so great to know that the personality I'm creating and the characteristics that I'm building upon myself and my aspirations, whatever like the stuff that I'm building that people know about me now, is that I'm a computer engineering student and I go
mhm,
to UCSD and I'm an absolute nerd and I'm super chill or whatever the hell. And I go to church and I'm Christian and I have really, 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 really great Christian friends
yeah,
and I have a youth group that cares about me. That is like something that everyone from my school knows about me. That is a known fact. It's like Bren, he goes to church, that type of situation.
right.
And it's like I don't know what else could feel more filling than that to be
Mm-hmm.
to be confidently known by that idea and to be confidently say that these are people that the community and the network I'm growing, I'm so confident that they're gonna make me feel confident through whatever I go
Right.
through whatever shit and ups and downs I'm gonna be experiencing for the next this year and 2 years and 3 years,
So on and so
God
forth, right?
knows. That those people are always gonna be there for me.
Right. Um, for me, I think what how I would akin church, right, or how I would see the church has been a constant for me is that like you, I've also had friends that have come and gone
Yeah.
from my life. Um, whether it's just by falling out or we just drifted apart,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's that whole, everyone has a chapter and a role to play in someone's life, right? And once that chapter closes,
Yeah.
that chapter's closed.
Yeah.
They may be there, may not be there. You just gotta move on. If they're here, it's okay.
Okay.
But like that whole thing where you have to like just see these people that are outside of church just
Mm-hmm.
come and leave life as it as as they please and as they see fit, right? Because
Yeah.
that's not something you can control. It's going back to
Hmm.
that inevitability.
Okay. What is this? It's inevitable, but I think it varies to person about how you go about it. But eventually, you do find your people, and navigating through it is just really scary. And I don't think you ever stop feeling scared about it.
You don't, and like I said, when you talk about it in the church aspect, right? Yes, it's inevitable. People come and go. We have to accept that people have their own ways and then their own times in their life where they say, okay, I'm meant to be here, and then after a certain point, I'm meant to be somewhere else.
Right. And also, that doesn't take away from the fact that at the end of the day, I've learned a lot of good things and I've learned a lot of bad things from the people that come and go in my life. And that's like super cheesy and super cliche, but it's true. Like there's genuinely there are fragments of other people that I go about my life that will never leave me, and there's a beauty to that, but also it sucks. So it's like a waging war between my head and my heart with that. But yeah, in a church aspect, again, what I've said before, I'm very blessed to always have people to come back to, and I found them at church.
Yeah, um, I mean, same with me. The community is something, or a stable and consistent community is something that I will always be grateful for,
Yep.
and especially in a society right now where people are okay and kind of have to be okay with leaving, right?
Yeah.
Leaving or stepping away from another person's life. I think there's a comfort in that. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that unity.
All right. Well, I guess so that we can pause on that conversation, end
Yes.
it there. Um,
That was so coming of age ending. Apply it
we're,
to yourself. Think about it
yeah, apply
yourself.
to yourself. Think about it, right? Like you said, for all y'all who find it scary that
You're
you
going through a change in your life like that.
with your friends, with
People
shifting
around you.
relationships, right?
Hmm.
Especially if you're a college student, that's just
And you're in a bigger world
yeah,
now. You're
you don't
interacting with such different people
exactly
now.
exactly. You don't see like from high school, right? Like I think I mentioned this earlier. High school, you're essentially forced to hang out with people that you may not necessarily even like or be with, right? Who knows,
Yep.
right? But start realizing you take that for granted, and now when you go to college, you actually have to try, right? You have to try
Oh, I hate trying.
socializing. And then I'm going to tell you when it comes to after college, it's even more exacerbated. So don't be so scared with what, especially I said about it, but think of it as a to reflect on and what I guess, you can do in preparation for the times that
Yeah.
when eventually people start doing their own thing,
You'll get
you
the hang of it.
exactly you'll get the hang of it, and honestly, the people that are meant to be in your life, they're gonna stay.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yeah. I hope you enjoyed.
yeah. I for sure think that was a very eye-opening conversation for me, and I hope you all do as well.
Yes,
All
yes,
right,
of course.
all right. See you guys next time.
Bye.